6th evening. I'd like to start the Water Sewer Commission meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I think first on the agenda are Superintendent Updates, if you have,
I have a few.
okay.
Just a little informational. Wednesday, 7/24, we showed the trends on the SCADA, indicated there was a leak. We dealt with that. We talked about that briefly at the last meeting, which was the valve on the tank. Thinking that was going to be the only isolated incident, we scheduled some tank cleaning, in which once again we dodged a bullet. We had to put the tank cleaning off because there was some cell work being done on the tower that was scheduled to be cleaned. The size of the crane that had to be brought in was much larger than anticipated. So instead of having them fight for space, we were able to put off the cleaning. Worked out in our favor as we had a major pipe disruption Friday around 6 o'clock. And there was a pipe on Old Taunton Ave that actually let go. So once again, dodged a bullet. We were able to isolate it, narrowed it down to just one street being out. Unfortunately, with that street going down and the increase in flow, the disruption was already there. By redirecting the water, it only made things a little bit worse. The repair was completed by myself and 2 other employees that were able to come in the emergency, and remained on Friday night into Saturday night into Saturday night, flushing basically that whole quadrant of town from Old Taunton Ave, and pulled it all the way through systematically down to Dean Street at the town line, just to remove the color that was there. Communications was inundated with calls. They requested that we actually do public notification, which Scott was nice enough to help me with. Thank you.
Welcome.
That eased the pain a little bit with the Norton Alert system. So if anybody's interested in getting those, it's on the website. You need to sign up for them.
Nice.
Is it an email system where people can sign up with their email and
I
get
received-
notifications?
I received email and text.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's
No, I
just
meant
because I have a town phone.
On the notifications, like if we have a disruption to the system somewhere in town, can people sign up to have their email, like bulk email gone out that we have this major interruption in our water main, and you may experience possible.
I'm not
quality
sure
issues.
how it was distributed. Maybe
Yeah, it went out to all the people that signed up. I think there's like 500 people that signed up for it.
Wow.
For water sewer updates, and it goes to their email, and they get a voice on their cell phone and home phone, which just recites the message that I typed up.
Awesome.
I tried. You can do text as well, but it's only 140 characters, so you can't really get much
Yeah,
of a message
no,
in there.
the email thing works fairly well.
Yeah. So
I think, and as long as people can know about it, we get it out there, that people know about it, they can sign up, and so they won't be surprised.
the follow-up was worse than the main break, right?
Yeah,
As far
yeah.
as the disturbance of the water all around.
Exactly. Yeah, the break was isolated to that one area. It was rather small. The major disruption came from isolating it and redirecting the water, making it take the long way around, basically.
Yep.
Why don't you change the direction?
Yeah, the reverse of
Yeah.
flow,
Yeah.
and we knew it was going to happen. We didn't have the staff to go out and mediate it while we were doing the repair.
Right.
Repair, took priority, and we dealt with it afterwards. Well, we brought the system back up to pressure, cleared that line. We had another crew out working the system the other way. You're limited on how much you can actually flow at one given time. You can't, exceed what you're pumping, or you have a second issue will arise rather quickly.
Lose pressure.
So it does take a while, right? It's unfortunately people did deal with some discolored water for a length of time. Majority of it was already by their house with clean water, but it was in their service lines.
Right.
So there were multiple calls to the same resident, even though the town employees had been by there. So we did make a few stop-ins, even though it was late at night. If they had called and the lights were on,
Right.
We purposely stopped, knocked on the door, and showed them a physical sample of the water that came out of the hydrant in front of the residence.
Right.
And explained, definitely don't run the hot, run the cold. And when it clears up, you may have to flush your hot water system, just like you do when we go by with the flushing program. Calls on Sunday were none, and Monday we had 1 or 2, and it was not in that area.
Wow.
So it worked out extremely well.
How far away did it get from the
It
source?
was Old Taunton Ave, South Worcester, Eddy. Let's see what else we got down there. Jackson. We had Myra's Way. We had Hodges, Dean. Basically, this whole lower corner.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. It just proves how sensitive our system is to any major changes. Not just in a pressure drop or a flow increase, but in any type of change. And hopefully some of that sensitivity will be eased when the plant goes online. But it is going to be a process. It's not going to be instantaneous. That we'll still deal with issues like that. Same thing what happens if there's an unfortunate fire and the fire hydrant has to be used, or if a hydrant gets hit and breaks. There's multiple reasons why we have discolored water, many of which unfortunately are not within our control. We deal with it afterwards. I know we wanted to discuss the plaque for the treatment plant.
Right.
Not sure if that was something that was just kind of overlooked for a little while. We've had other things that were pressing throughout the meetings. We need to discuss whose names or titles we would like to have on the plaque as the plant is progressing towards completion, hopefully again late this fall. I would imagine a plaque should be in place for the opening. So that's something that you guys want to keep on the back of your plate there.
Right.
You can hash this out.
What usually happens, Fran?
Usually the names of the sitting commissioners would be on the plaque. They're in charge of the project, water and sewer commissioners.
Town manager,
And the superintendent.
superintendent,
Yeah, name of the contractor, name of the engineer.
engineer.
Not the company, not the people, the company.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you might see other names if it's, town manager form of government. And that's pretty much where it would stop typically.
Is there a
that's what we-
template? Do we have something that has been done in the past? I mean, what?
I'm not sure you've ever dedicated
There-
anything
There is a plaque on the Great Woods Sewer Station.
on Gray Woods,
Yes.
not Cobb Street?
I believe it's Great Woods. I would have to verify, and I could take a sketch or a picture. That way we can have a template.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know.
Basically,
Same as last time, yeah.
right.
And
What you just said though, all the people that you said were on some of the plaques that I see.
Typically, yeah.
Just a basic
Well,
tip.
Mansfield is Plaque Central.
Multiple plaques per building.
Once you go plaque,
that was really good. That was really good.
Perfect. Even between the lines, I'm surprised at you.
it's all for the TV friend.
Little,
Right,
TV
right.
land.
Gotta laugh.
little decisions like Luther or Luke would have to to be made.
Right. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
And that would, we would leave that up to you.
If I gotta put Francis, you gotta put Luther.
All right. There it is.
All right.
Easy enough.
But the decisions that you've made
Rather
pretty
quickly.
soon, because it takes a while to make them.
Right.
Okay.
And we prefer not to make two, so spelling is very important.
Spelling's critical.
Yes.
Right.
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 That would be embarrassing.
It's not something you can usually fix. That
No,
easily.
no, it's
Well,
pretty
replacing
much
it.
set in metal, not stone.
Exactly.
I can send you a picture of
sure,
what we have
yeah.
on our plan itself.
sure,
I mean,
yeah.
maybe that'll give you,
Yeah, I'll get that. I'll
I
get
mean,
one
it's
off
basically
our
what we
building
just talked
and get an
about,
idea.
something simple.
Right. Get an idea. of
Unless you
everything.
have a Micah Hearn that you have to.
That's all you need, right? He would have the direct source.
Received a certified letter last week from the SBA Tower company.
Mm-hmm.
I assumed it was regarding the money that is still owed to the water department from the town for the utility bill. That's actually one
It's not-
part that was not paid yet.
Oh.
It was
All
agreed
right.
to be paid, but we have not received the check as of yet. In their write-up that they have, which I can actually show you a copy of here, they discuss that amount and that it is in the wrong name. Now, we cannot change that name because we only own the land, we do not own the tower. the town needs to have their name put on that. So that's an issue that is beyond us. The other issue that has come up, they feel that they have been overcharged by us based on the tenants on the tower. The lease agreement proves that they have to pay a portion of the revenue by their subtenants, and apparently at some point in time, one of the tenants has vacated the tower. So the monies were taken in based on the full usage of the tower. So they've come up with some, after an internal audit, some numbers here that kind of shocking. Rose had actually looked over them quickly, and there is some things that are missing from the audit. So we have sent an email to them asking, you know, to clarify a few things. This is the money that they say is owed to them, and what they believe they will do for moving forward until some type of agreement is made is stop paying the rental agreement. So we had sent them back an email in response to that, you know, as the landlord, you know, we cannot be held responsible for actions taken against the town or the subtenants on the tower. You know, the money for renting the land is still due to us. I have yet to hear back from them. I have forwarded this up to Mike Units. I believe legal counsel will be looking over both matters to determine how accurate they are on their audit and what needs to be done to switch that name issue so that it is actually in the town's name. So
This is never gonna go away.
no, this one's going to drag on, I think.
I don't know enough about the lease, but if SBA had a tenant leave, wouldn't the burden be on them to notify and adjust their rent accordingly? I mean,
Yeah, how would it be?
I don't know how, I have absolutely no understanding of that lease, but
Right.
as just a layperson, if they had a tenant leave,
And they lost the tenant, it's on them. It
I
should-
think
should
you've
not
got,
be on the
I don't
name.
know if you can go back.
But it's
Right.
percentage of revenue, right? Not number of tenants, but if the revenue dropped by whatever amount of money, then
They're saying
the percentage
there's-
that they
there's
have.
That's what
portion.
they're saying, yeah. The portion that
I
they
guess the
lost by
lawyers have
not
to look
having
at
that tenant.
And when they stop receiving that rent, wouldn't that be the time to notify the town instead of when you get this far behind?
Right. You would think so. It looks like it's going on for quite some time.
Yeah.
You know, it finally trickled down here with a certified letter. Somehow they know, or they found out that we are the landowner, you know, and it's not the town. So maybe that's where the discrepancy is in the time that's lapsed. But the number is substantial, so we definitely need to, you know, figure out what's going to go on with that.
I think, is this us or as the landowner, they're not our tenant, it's the town.
Right.
So they need to, the folks up at,
And it went to KP Law
yep,
to get
but not
scrutinized.
on our dime, on the,
I believe Mike sent it there.
very good. That's, I was wondering who's getting the KP Law invoice. Okay.
I would believe it goes to some other entity besides us, but if I see a bill come in, we'll surely know differently.
Shoot out to my truck for a minute, please continue with the superintendent updates. Do you have a couple more?
I do.
All right, I'll be right back.
Sure.
How far back do those bills go?
I'm gonna say, I don't know if I say it, it'll be wrong. Let me find it.
More than a couple of years?
Really?
Yeah.
So they haven't paid their bill, their rental in a couple of years?
At least this letter here that was certified to KP Law was 2017. I think that audit was in here. There's another one here from, to Charlene Fisk, Director of Communications, November 2016. So notifications have been going out. It appears they've reached out to us as a last-ditch effort. A second letter, October 24th, 2016, to Charlene. Here it is. April 1st, 2006.
6. Wow.
Yeah, it's quite the breakdown in there. I don't know who did their audit and why there's numbers
Why don't you
missing.
go that far?
Right, and why it went back that far, but it's a substantial amount that they're looking for, so it'll definitely require some investigation. In the upcoming weeks, we're gonna look at renting a large excavator to begin the pipe install for the 4-log removal at well 3, which was money that was approved for at town meeting. We had talked quickly about looking at a temporary filtration plant or building to put at the small sites, which is well 1 and well 3. The preliminary work, looking at that and the amount of work that's gonna go into having DEP look at what's needed and go over a new plan. This plan we have for the pipe install has already been approved by them. We now have to go through conservation. We'll meet with Jennifer and yourself at some point. It's in everybody's best interest to get this pipe installed to meet the 4-log removal and look later on at a bigger, whether it be a temporary filtration plant or some type of permanent plant being built there. The water quality at 3 is exceptional compared to some of the other sites as far as ones that may exceed on random occurrences, the action level for the manganese, the report that we put in the paper. But the benefit for installing the 4-log far supersedes the time that we would wait to get an approval and a new plan for a plant there at 3. Well 1 is something that's totally different. That one is one of them that routinely exceeds. It's right at the action level. You know, it may come in a point, you know, or 2 higher than the action level, but it still requires our post, so we show that.
Right.
Interesting thing that's come up is with the sub-basin minimization plan through DEP. It's a whole separate entity of DEP. They look at water that's taken from the aquifers and the stress basins throughout the Commonwealth in their enforcement area. They recommend increasing production at well 1 because they are unaware of the water quality there, and limiting production at wells 4, 5, and 6. Apparently the two people
Who is this?
it's DEP.
Okay.
Apparently they do not talk amongst themselves and realize that we've spent
$12 million
$12
later.
million on a treatment plant that's gonna go from our 3 largest wells at 4, 5, and 6. We have routinely come in under our permitted amount of 1.85 MGD. So for the years that we've been under that amount, we've been allowing others the potential of removing more from that stressed aquifer.
Right.
The issue with well 1 is it's actually in the Taunton River Basin, which is a non-stressed aquifer.
Right.
So that is, they look at it that way. They don't understand everything else that goes on in town and the infrastructure that we've already put in place. So I've worked with Tara from Weston and Sampson. We're going to be requesting a meeting with DEP to explain the current circumstances, the current water quality issues that we have at 1, and we have no possible way of increasing the production at that well based on the size of the well and the gravel pack that's there. One issue that I had mentioned, and I know we had looked at it many, many years ago, is the original well point for the town is actually what's known as well number 2. It was abandoned.
Right.
It was done incorrectly, we are told, way back when.
Yeah.
So much so that you couldn't just reinitiate the well, you would have to start from scratch and redevelop a whole infrastructure, plans, everything. So that is something that will be talked about if there's a way of changing the wording that was done there, and then we could look at doing something there, possibly recreating well 2, have a larger drawdown well, 24-inch case.
Why did it get taken offline?
Honestly, I do not know. I would have to dig up some archives and see just the reason why it came off. We know when we replaced well 1 with the existing building that was there, we did a satellite location that's there now. We actually planned, hoping that we could get it requalified, and we actually have infrastructure in the ground that had piping that was designated it was going to go over to where well 2 was, and we could alternate between the existing well 1 and well 2. And this is when Dwayne was here. I believe it was probably Otter Creek that did the engineering on that.
What aquifer does that draw from?
That is
Taunton?
the Taunton.
As well? Okay.
Is it located near well 1?
It is very close to it.
Mm.
Yep. The building that's in the main entrance was the original pumping building for the town. I believe the original well point was there, and this well point is actually to the left, as if you come in the entrance over in the sand area. We have had a pump on the observation well, and we've gotten 300 gallons a minute, easy, out of that. We never tested water quality. It wasn't the point back then. We didn't have these issues that we do now with pH being adjusted and iron and manganese in the gravel pack. So the potential is there, that we might have an option, but it all depends on analysis of the water. But the fact that they're requesting us to lower our withdrawals from 4, 5, and 6 is just ridiculous. So just wanted to make sure you guys are aware of that, as I'm sure there will be more discussions about this in the future.
And this is a suggestion or a requirement?
This is a recommendation.
Okay. No, understood, recommendation.
Who signed it from DEP?
I would have to find it out.
Just interested to see
Right.
if it came out of Boston or came out of Lakeville.
I would have to assume Boston. They seem pretty detached from what goes on down here in the southeast region. And looking at it, sitting on a computer, looking at it at a desk, and you see these 3 wells are right on this stress basin, it makes perfect sense to say, hey, look, this one's over here, and you're only pumping 200 gallons a minute. Let's increase that one. It's in a good basin. It's simple. Well, unfortunately, it's not simple. So there may be a little argument that'll go on about this.
Right. No. I think the background would bring everybody up to the understanding that we all have.
Right.
So, I don't know if it's worth just a few bullets of information to the generator of the letter and CC out to the folks at Lakeville for maybe a little assistance in the bringing everybody up to speed on this.
Right. Yeah. And the coming weeks,
Rather than letting it go too far, I think an action item maybe to.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to bring somebody from maybe Barbara in on this and.
I know Tara is working on it.
Yeah.
Part of the thing we've discussed, but I would imagine Barbara's
Oh, yeah.
right there as usual.
Yeah.
But I think a little bit of that might be, I can't call it proactive because it's already coming our way, but
Right.
reactive, better than waiting for something else to happen. And just a little timeline and a little bit of whatever.
Right. Yeah, a little
What
explanation
background?
of what's going on. Right.
We should try to get a dialogue open with the DEP anyways for this and other things, because they're gonna have to decide when we can turn on the distribution system, right?
Right.
So if they're already aware of everything that's going on, you're talking to the same person. I think that's the biggest problem, is that so many people.
Yeah, there are so many people
Deal with
involved,
the same
and
one.
they have different interests. I'm sure they're very good in each one of their departments, but as far as the intermingling, it appears that there may be something that has been missed here. I know we do have, we're waiting here for confirmation from a meeting with DEP, with the engineers that are working on the treatment plant. That's Ryan and Colin are down there. We're trying to discuss options that we may have for the pump to waste. When one of the wells or 3 of the wells go online to the plant, there's a requirement that you have the pump to waste to show that your plant is operational. I don't see that as being an option for Norton. We need to come to some type of agreement. Even if they enforce that rule, we need to know where the water is going to go so that it doesn't cause damage. That is an issue because of the area that it's actually being built in. We have limitations on the work area. There's limitations on what you can discharge. It's going to be a large quantity of water, more so than the effluent that's gonna come from the filter beds and sit in the drying basins. I mean, this is a continuous run, and if you break it up into 3 wells going on independently, you know, are they gonna require 3 independent pump to waste to prove that? So there's a lot of unknowns, again, which seems to be the common answer for this plan.
Be better to know now than
We need to
3
know.
months from now
Exactly.
what's
Right.
gonna happen.
Yeah, we need answers, and we need to possibly get everybody in one room,
Yeah.
you know, have a major discussion and bring up all the bullet points and any of our concerns, because we seem to be in a unique situation here where, you know, 90% of our water has got to go through that plant. You can't require us to take 3 of our largest wells offline for any significant length of time without causing some type of stress on the infrastructure that we have. You know, we have, you know, 6 million gallons in storage. It's only going to last so long. You know, the other options we had talked about before was purchasing water from either Mansfield or Attleboro, and I would like to stay away from that and use that as a last resort because of the water quality differences. Regardless of who can supply it, you're still looking at quality issues and blending issues, and again, it gets the DEP involved because they would be the ones that would give you the approval to do it and what would be required for additional samples to be taken, and it just sounds like it's more of a problem than it has to be, you know.
Another reason to have them on board with what we talk about it, you know.
Right, so I had reached out to Jim McLaughlin at Southeast Region of DEP. I speak with him quite often. I explained to him about the pipe disturbance we had. I keep him up to date on what goes on in the system with complaint calls and areas of calls, so that he is aware in case somebody generates a call there. He has an answer, he's not reaching out looking for an answer.
Good.
He is away on vacation, so he has forwarded that to others that are working in his absence. And I would like to wait and speak with him personally.
Sure.
About this and a few other things, and possibly have him in on the meeting with whoever is in charge if it is not him personally of the plan.
Well, right, nobody knows the background better than him.
Right. He is the enforcing authority that we would definitely want
Right.
to have on board with everything we have.
Is it
That's
worth
going
just
on.
shooting out something to all parties that that's your intent? And when he returns from a vacation, at the very least, or, I don't know.
Right. Right. I mean, he still received the email. He responded back to me, told me he
Okay.
was on vacation. So obviously he is still monitoring his emails. I don't know if it's worth putting the wheels going while he's on vacation.
No.
We might just let him relax
Okay.
and enjoy his vacation.
Sure.
I would appreciate that if it was something that wasn't extremely pressing. I think we can wait 4 or 5 days, and
All right.
I can get out to him when he comes back. I'm sure he's going to have a backlog, and we'll definitely get on board with it. But there's some miscommunication going on there between the few different people in all the agencies. We just need to smooth it out a little bit.
These are the Water Management Act people.
Yes,
Dwayne Levangie, maybe?
that is the name.
See in Boston.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Boston
that's the
DEP.
problem, is when for half the time we're talking Southeast Region, half the time we're talking Region 1 in Boston.
Exactly.
Yeah, Dwayne's been involved in that since the old SWIMI, Sustainable Water Management Initiative that started everything. And,
And one last thing, a letter from the selectman, the town clerk, and the town manager, wondering if the board would be interested in adopting the town's remote participation for meetings.
So I don't really hear
Oh,
about
look at
this.
this, he's smiling over here.
Yeah.
What is this?
They want to have a way where you can remotely attend public meetings. You know, like if you.
Oh, so if you can't be there,
Yeah,
you can...
you can
Like
call
for
and have
us?
a little voice
Yeah.
at the table, yeah. Really?
Yeah, this is the actual document.
They want to see if all the committees
If all
in
the
town can do it, yeah.
committees are
And then
interested
having
in it.
each one decide
Bit
if they want to do it
bit
or
of a
not.
challenge with a
I'm personally
three-person.
against the idea altogether.
The 3 people here, I think
Especially
it's
on-
difficult.
yeah.
On a larger board, it may be
Yeah.
something that you could achieve.
Correct,
But not-
right.
You wrote it, right?
I'm gonna wait for the movie to come out.
Nice.
So So if you wanna table that for now and
Yeah.
look at it
Yeah.
at a later date.
Is there a
that's
time frame for
perfectly
which they're trying to decide this, or?
They have to get the technology in place still, and there's a lot of steps that, but they need to know what kind of interest they're gonna generate from it. And
fine. Right, if there's no interest
I
in
don't know
it.
how the rest of the boards feel, but you know how it would work.
Right. One last thing. Oh, thank you, sir.
Just trying to sweet you up.
Good luck with that. Need more than cookies. We had the bid opening today here for the Home Street, East Main Street finalization project. We had 6 bidders. The range was, the highest bid was $345,960.52. The lowest bid was $246,673.92, and that was Gravity Construction that won the bid opening.
That's cool.
So,
The next highest bid was about $18,000 higher, so.
yes.
Really well
Yeah,
done.
the highest bid was kind of out there, everybody else was less than
Yeah, we had
300,000.
5 that were in the ballpark, and one that was just, it was above the 340 mark, so.
What's the time frame on that work?
When?
Yeah.
Start or finish? Or
Start.
both? Soon as we get a contract awarded,
That
they
shouldn't
get,
take that long.
no,
It's
And
not a
TP will
large
be
job.
for the next month or so.
Hmm.
Nice.
Hopefully.
Good.
Yeah, that would be our best.
yeah, the time frame to get it done is like 60 days as far as getting the pipe work done.
Before the winter
And then
starts.
paving, final paving next spring.
Excellent.
That
How many feet is that job?
It's only like 1,100
It's
feet.
Small street, yeah.
It's a very
Although there was
small
some
street.
decision between Bernie and us about whether it's 1,100 or 1,300, but
Right.
1,100.
Yeah, we're gonna extend it down just about to the eastern town line. Install a hydrant on the end of the main where there never was one.
You gonna loop it to the 12?
It is, we're gonna have a lateral go across, loop to the new 12 that we had installed.
Excellent.
There's an existing hydrant at the end of that main there, so there's gonna be no dead end without a hydrant, and then we're gonna loop it back and connect into the new main that was installed on Homes.
Perfect,
And that
that'd be
will
a nice
actually
loop.
create the loop for
Yeah.
Homes
Awesome.
and Norton Glen back to
That'll
East
improve the
Main.
quality of the Glen, yeah,
It will,
definitely.
Yep.
it will, but even though the Glen is still dead-ended and still has some older pipe that's in there, the increase in
help.
flow down there will definitely help, even if it's just for fire protection. That is all I have.
Very good.
Want to see this? Did you see
Yeah,
the
take a
the
look.
SBA?
I'll take a look. Thanks.
I'm sorry.
It's okay,
We're
You
gonna
okay?
move on to Weston and Sampson.
okay.
One
Just
little brush fire, it's my life, but
Okay.
I can multitask.
Okay.
You do your thing.
Maybe the best thing to do is to go right at the, talk about the water rate study. And as you recall, to your last meeting 2 weeks ago, Mark and Matt Abrahams were here, talking about the work. Frank and I had met with them previously, that day actually, to get a lot of the data input into their multi-linked workbook, as far as information, spending, revenues, get that all correct. We had pretty much done everything except for a couple of pieces of information that we did not have at our disposal at that time. Over the last couple of weeks, we've finalized those numbers. They've also done more work with James, the town accountant, to correct some of the numbers dealing with retained earnings. So all the data points are there, accurate, done, and really ready for, put some alternatives together for rate increases. And the water rate increases are more than justified, based on the fact that you've got this water treatment plant that's gonna cost you about well over $600,000 a year in principal and interest payments on a 2% loan. No one can spend that kind of money without doing a rate increase. In addition to that, there are other capital improvements that are being made. Reservoir Street recently completed. Home Street is gonna be done soon. Pine Street, we're looking to go out to bid for that in the fall, which is a significantly larger project. And then shortly after that, I believe, is when East Main Street will be done, the water main work that's needed to be done in the area where the state is rebuilding East Main Street, pretty much from, I guess, from 495 down to Pine Street, almost the entire length of East Main. So there's a lot of work and a lot of money being spent. In addition to that, we've, in part of the master plan that we've done, identified a significant amount of capital improvements that are needed above and beyond the plan in order to make the system work better, and as far as basically providing clean water to the folks in town. And in looking at those needs, based on the draft of the master plan, we looked at, looks about be about a $2 million investment per year to get that work done. So you start thinking about all those monies that are being spent, plugging those in, even borrowing, that's a significant amount of money. So what happened today, there was a work session scheduled to go with Mark and Matt Abrahams, who the town retained to do the study. And I can go quickly through this handout, which Matt actually printed out for me before I left for this meeting. And the first page, probably the best thing to look at, is about 2/3 of the way down, you see the either excess or deficiency of revenues that happened, and this is the baseline. So these are all the expenditures you see are above, and then obviously the revenues are here as well. So it's not showing any increase in revenues at all, but it does show you that you go negative pretty quickly in fiscal year, right off the bat, in fiscal 2020 and 2021, you're $1 million, 1.5, 1.7 million. Even you just don't generate enough revenue to be able to stay positive. And then if you look further down on the next to the bottom, you're looking at the available retained earnings end of fiscal year. You see you go negative retained earnings in fiscal 2022 as soon as that, and then it goes rapidly down. $2 million, $4 million. So those, based on those negative numbers, you really need to increase the rates to generate the revenue to pay the bills that are coming. So the next 3 pages are really 3 proposed changes and increases in rates over the years. And again, the key is at the bottom of the page, or at the bottom showing what happens with the retained earnings, not necessarily at the bottom of the page, but just above it. The goal here is to stay hopefully between 10 and 20% of your budget in retained earnings. So you see that the percentage increases are across the top on the order of 10, 15, 15%. It does the trick. It does keep you in that range of 10 to 20% of your budget at the end of each fiscal year. That's kind of really quickly option number 1. Option number 2 is and basically increasing the town's minimum charge for water rates. And the general feeling is you've got $10, $11 million treatment plant, you've got $2 million per year investments to make in your system, that the lowest range, the minimum charges that folks pay, if you pay the minimum every quarter, the town's revenue that you get is $140 a year. So again, $140 a year for just being able to, first of all, have water access and the fire protection it provides, as well as the drinking water. And again, you know, the added improvements that are being made, it really, you start comparing it to other towns, it's a very low minimum charge. So
if we do just some rough envelope math on the water expenditures versus the percentage of the minimum rate payers, are they paying their fair share? Is it costing us, or is it costing the other rate payers to carry the minimum rate payers at this point? Is that fair to say?
if you add up all the fixed costs you have, absolutely.
You know what I mean? I think if we
Absolutely.
can all be frank, I think it's more than $140 a year to supply water to, what do we have, just under 6,000
6,000.
users?
Yep,
So 140 doesn't do it.
correct.
It's
So-
unfortunate. And how many, what kind of numbers are there in this category? Like,
I believe it was 339 users use the minimum all 4 quarters. And a couple hundred use it for 3 quarters, and I think similar numbers, couple hundred
Yeah.
use it
So
for
it's-
2, and another 300 use it for
if you
1.
add them up, it's 10 or 11%.
Correct.
Give or take.
Right. That use it
I'm
at
just
some
trying to
point.
do some rough. All right.
Yeah, so on that first one, again, it's just a straight percentage increase without dealing with the minimum charges. The second one reflects a minimum charge increase. And I believe this, and I'm pretty sure what this one does is looks at I want to say increasing the minimum charge from $35 per quarter to $52.50. And then from there on, just a straight line increase, if you will, over time. And that, as well as lesser percent increases going forward. That no percent increase into 2020, and then 10, 10, 10, and 10 going forward. So once again, it gets you where you need to be. The retained earnings as a percent of budget is, by 2024, 18.4%. So you're again within that range of 10 to 20. That's really the critical element here. And the third and last option, if you will, it basically increases that minimum rate in 2 parts. And half in 2020, and then the other half in 2021. So it's kind of a gradual increase of that minimum charge. So once again, it effectively does the same thing as the last one, but it takes it 2 years to get it. And then likewise, you're looking at 10, 10, 10, and 10% going forward. And as you might expect, it's a little bit less than, as far as the percent of retained earnings to budget, it's a little bit less just because you're not getting that same amount of revenue in year 1. So the feeling is that these are 3 separate and distinct ways of generating the revenue that you're going to need going forward. And issues of timing need to be talked about when to do these. I do recall the last time this commission had a rate impact, if you will, on water rates, and it was the sprinkler charges that were passed. There seemed to be some disgruntled folks that those rates were imposed without a lot of notice to even town departments. And so the fact is, if midway through the year, you're gonna look at an increase, the goal is to get that information out to other town boards whose water rates are actually gonna be increased like everybody else. So that come mid-year, which means actually October town meeting, if there's monies that need to be added, revenues that they need to pay the water bills, they can do it. So the goal here is to get the information out as soon as possible, make a decision, get the information out, show it's planned for even just the first year, but there is a plan to generate the revenues going forward based on your expenditures, because a lot of these costs are borrowing. The 20-year notes, and those numbers are gonna be, they're not gonna change a lot. And these revenue generation figures are based on 1 year of data, and every single person or every single account is a data point in their workbook. So they really know what everybody has used, and they can actually apply these rate increases to every single user, and that's how the numbers are generated. So this isn't just a broad brush cost. This is a real cost based on 1 year of data. So I think the critical issue at this point is the timing.
Right.
And then a decision on which one of the 3 methods outlined here are best.
So I'll start at FY 2020, right? So that means they're going to affect July 1st of next year? Is that how
Yeah,
it
fiscal
works?
2020 would only affect for half a year. For half a year.
For the second half of the year?
Yep.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yep.
All right. So the first higher bill will be the second quarter of 2020? Okay.
It would be actually
The third quarter?
third quarter.
Okay. Gotcha.
If we get right on it.
if we get
If we
right
did
on
the
it.
immediate increase.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And there's a protocol for, public hearing
Yep.
to discuss, and it could be that could be done as one of your commission meetings, or posted within a commission meeting, what the rate increase is proposed to be. People come in and, and give their opinions, but there are a lot of ways to skin the cat here, but the big feeling is that all the expenditures here that are being made and the fixed costs that are there, whether somebody uses 1 gallon or 100,000 gallons a year, those fixed costs are there for the water. They've got the availability to take the water, to use the water for the fire protection, and that current rate of $140 a year really just doesn't do it.
Yeah. So if we look at the possibility of the 3 options, for me, I think it's the last one. It does address that, the base rate or whatever you're calling that minimum user charge, but I think it's a little easier over the 2 parts. I think if I'm reading this right, it starts at, like you're saying, the
Current's 35.
okay, the current's 35, and then in 2020, I guess it's just those 2 quarters, third and fourth quarter of 2020, it takes it to 43.75, which I'm hoping, I mean, nobody likes an increase, but it's a small increment, and then full fiscal 2021 would be up to the 57.75, and then you break into the 10% across the board increases.
Yeah, I mean, roughly $9 increase for 3 months, it's $3
A month, right.
So in reality, you think about it, how many bottles of bottled water you can get for $3.
Depends where you are. If you're at Gillette, it buys you a third of a bottle.
Right. Exactly.
I think, and I know a lot of people who are in that small user category are probably on fixed incomes and whatnot, but it's really, in the issue of fairness, it's not fair to the other ratepayers who are carrying the majority of the load
Right.
to continue to carry the minimum ratepayers. So I think in an equitable stance, that's I think the best and most fair, to bring it in slow, have our public outreach, and it's not excessive and it's not abrupt. We notify, we discuss, bring in an increment of the first increment, and then in a year do the next one, so people have time to plan and the information is there, and somehow hopefully they can prepare for it.
I agree. I think that's the way to go as well. It's less painful, much less painful than getting zapped with.
And I've seen some other rates from surrounding towns, and their minimum users are in some cases double what ours are, and not that we have to be them, but we're not out of line at that level.
Right. Yeah,
And the other thing is it does give us the retained earnings stability that we need to go forth with infrastructure repairs that will get our treated water from the plant through the utility system out to the faucet, if you will. Does us absolutely no good to have tanks full of clean water that can't go through the transmission lines properly out to the end user. So the $2 million a year this adjustment will allow in our infrastructure improvements will get that accomplished more quickly than piecemealing it together, which is not anybody's plan.
right. Yeah, I can't remember the last time the rates were actually increased here. I know there's been a reluctance by the commission to increase rates over time, given some of the water quality complaints that you've gotten over time. And that makes sense, all the sense in the world, so there really has not been an increase in several years. Again, more because of the quality of the water that exists for some people. Some people have great water, it's clean, and never have a problem. Others have more, just by their location. They basically don't have the quality. So it did make sense not to periodically increase those rates, and now it's time. There are a lot of costs that need to be paid. A lot of improvements are in the pipeline, so to speak, and it does make sense to increase the rates now, so you can maintain a reasonable dollar amount in retained earnings.
What do you think about the three options, Scott?
I'm concerned about the retained earnings percentage of budget. I know you said 10 and 20 is the range you want to be in, but we're probably going to be a lot stronger position if we have more than 15% than if we have down at 12, right? For, I mean, the readiness for.
Yeah,
Does it make a difference, you think, or?
I think given all the assumptions that are plugged in here,
Yeah.
don't forget, there's, it's $2 million a year approximately, but you don't have a project that's 2 million
No.
and one that's,
Right.
2 million the next year. So it's gonna go up, and it's gonna go down based on the actual projects being done.
Right.
Interest rates could change significantly.
Mm-hmm.
Higher or lower, I know recently with the Fed changing the rates lower, so borrowing rates could be lower.
And, right, who knows
Well,
what,
that's his way.
yeah, who knows what the government will do for
Who knows?
encouragement on
Yeah.
municipal projects. I mean, there's so many, even taking into account, I know the Abrahams group does meticulous studies, and they use who even knows how many points of data, but
There's a lot
it's
of assumptions
it's
in this.
comprehensive. They've got it.
And they change the numbers could change year to year, and it bears watching to see, where you stand on retained earnings every year. How are you looking? Do you limit the amount of spending the following year? Do you postpone projects? Can you postpone projects? There's lots of decisions that are gonna be made here
How do we
along
get
the
so
way.
high now? Is it because the plant is, we haven't started paying for the plant yet? Is that why we have it 75% now?
This is just construction interest money, right? It's not. It's short-term interest on the plant. We're not paying for the plant.
Is that why we have
Yeah.
so much more now than we will in 2 years?
Well, the big number, if you can see the line on the expenditures, treatment plant debt and interest. If you look in 2021, $633,000 in 1 year.
0 to 150,
Yeah,
which is
that's
a
a big-
portion of the year, and it's not fully in effect, but when it goes into fully effect, like Fran said, it's 633 and change.
Yeah, that's it.
And then the existing debt is over just around $1 million a year now.
Which decreases.
Correct. As
But,
as those projects are paid
On
off.
the third option, our retained earning as percentage of budget flattens out around 16.5%, which in my opinion is in between. I mean, it is
Yeah.
it is in between the
Yeah.
two, and I think and that introduces the minimum user adjustment in 2 steps, and then it's still at the 10% annual.
Which one did you guys recommend? The room?
The last page.
The room, okay. Yeah, that seems the most stable.
It's in between.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
you know what I mean.
Yeah,
It's
it's really
figuratively and literally. It's not 12. It's not 18. It's 16 flat line. And again,
Rates don't screw up.
you don't have a 15%,
Right.
and that I think that's kind of a huge chunk for me.
Yeah.
And it's not a lot of dollars, but even in the average household, it goes from 89.56 to 98.31 in 2020, and then maxes out at 156.75.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I think they've done a good job here to come up with some other options. Obviously, there are a lot of things you can do to change things up, but I think if you're looking at trying to be fair to the people that, the lower users, as well as the people on the higher end, I know Luke has said before, the goal is the people that can least afford it, try to be fair to them and keep it as low as you can, but there's something to be said for their fixed cost and getting them to pay at least a more reasonable share of that fixed cost. May not be everything, but it's a better share. More fair, if you will. So I think that, at some point, maybe next meeting, you think a little bit about this and decide, and then start talking about dates when you're gonna have meetings.
If we backtrack from being ready, because as you suggested in the beginning, the schools have to plan a budget and whatnot. If we backtrack, when is our timing critical for the public meeting, and then we have to be ready for town meeting, so we backtrack from there.
Should be ready for October probably, right?
Yeah.
October meeting.
Yeah.
You wanna be ready before
Yeah,
then,
present
so
in
that
October.
people can actually adjust and figure
Right.
what those increases are gonna mean to them.
Articles need to be in by August 26th for the October 20
Well then,
Really?
meeting.
August
Oh my God.
26th.
Yeah, for October 21st,
I believe so.
town meeting.
Okay.
Would anybody like to make a motion? Cause this is
That's gonna get
August,
done now.
But don't
this
forget,
is, this is August 6th.
Jesus.
Yeah,
We have
this-
our next meeting.
Can we leave it open-ended? We're gonna write an article for that meeting, or we have to have it
No, it
written,
won't be an
ready to go
article.
before we?
These rates really, it's not about an article, you
This
make,
is a public meeting. We have a public meeting
Here.
and we change the rates.
and make a vote to
Yeah.
change
So-
it.
So we just announced what we already did
So what,
at the
two,
meeting.
like Scott said, 2 weeks from now, why don't we do a public meeting and,
Yeah,
meeting at all at once up at the library if we can get it or something like that?
yeah.
What do you want to do, or can we do it here? Should we do it here?
What, last time we did
It
them,
might be
We
well
here,
attended.
we were here,
we were
Oh,
here.
yeah. Well, then we can do it in there.
yeah.
Did a lot of people show up last time we did this?
I believe you had a couple, two
Yeah.
Maybe
people.
half a dozen, if
Three,
that.
yeah, it was 3 or 4 maybe, Rose would know, but
Right, should-
I don't think,
I
it
mean,
was,
I'm
it was
not-
less than 10.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to the library, it just, I don't know.
Well, if
Oh,
not
yeah.
this time, I mean, if it's,
I think it'd be
Can we
better.
have it here?
Even if
Yeah.
5 people show up, it still looks better,
All right.
you know? What do you think, Frank? Is it
Yeah, I can
easy
question.
for us to get that room?
It has been.
Okay,
Okay.
it's close to right.
Oh, I see.
Well,
Just saying.
let's try to do that and
So that
we'll,
would be-
we'll all,
I guess,
take on the homework of
20th.
reviewing each option,
Right.
if I could
Well,
ask.
before we do that, didn't, Frank, did you say something about 14 days notice of information?
Right, that's what I'm trying to get,
Be out beforehand?
There is something, I honestly do not remember exactly what Rose had mentioned. It was something to do with after the informational meeting, there was a 14-day
Wait.
either a wait or a certification or something was done.
so if we do it,
Comment period, maybe?
It might-
Wednesday.
maybe.
we can
Yeah,
still
that's
write
typical for a public
the
hearing.
article.
A 14-day wait, comment
Right.
period.
You know, we have that 14-day comment period open, but we can still have the article saying we're gonna present the new rates at the fall town meeting and not, we need to get in that slot somehow. I don't know.
Once
what the
again-
process is. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, but
Yes,
once
we
again, once again, this isn't about a town meeting vote. for
Right.
you.
This-
No, it's
is-
not,
yeah.
but it has to be presented
them,
in
so
advance
they can
so that the
understand,
schools
right.
and everybody else has time to get their budgets
and
together.
if it can't get onto their budgets, is their issue.
Right.
Yeah.
so you don't think we can get that done by the 20th? Or do we have to go a couple days after that because of the 14 days?
I don't,
I think we can,
You should be able to.
yeah.
You should be able to.
With posting it at all?
Well, maybe if you want to talk to Mike Units about,
this would be something that
Yeah.
he and,
he should be able to add his 2 cents here
right,
about the timing that works best for other departments.
Right.
But you might want to just say tentatively, let's schedule it,
right.
right?
If I may, I think to post a public hearing for water, 14 days notice.
Okay.
2 consecutive postings in the paper.
So it has to be
Okay.
tomorrow then.
Yeah. So you might want to push it out to a different day, because you're not going to make 14 days.
Good. So Wednesday.
To the 21st?
Oh, have I
For the
meeting on
next
Wednesday?
meeting.
Yeah, that's a
Right.
good idea.
Well, just so we can satisfy the,
Yep.
Yeah.
the law.
If
Yeah.
you can, I know you got nothing to do tomorrow
Yeah.
morning, Frank. If your days are open and leisurely.
Right.
I'm pretty sure it's 14 days.
No, I appreciate that.
Are you rolling at
Thank you.
11, Frank?
You can have a cookie.
So if you can
Any other procedural
chase
stuff?
down those with the
Yeah.
information and try to get a response, because this is a rate issue.
Well, we thought it was 2
And
months.
B, the timing is very important.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sure people are gonna wanna voice their opinions and, but hopefully we can keep on going forward with, we have the plant that's coming, I know it, people are tired of hearing it, I'm sure, but, they need to hear it, and it doesn't take, the infrastructure work that we plan on doing, with the monies that we're hoping to have, and hopefully we can
We'll have the
spend it
numbers in front
the
of
right ways. We're gonna,
Present.
we need to renew this, review this every year anyways, right?
correct.
You should, right, you should. Just to see how you're doing, work with James and where retained earnings are, because revenues could change as well.
Sure.
Some of the thought is that with the upcoming or eventual improved water quality, that water use should go up. But, then conversely, if the price goes up, sometimes that has an impact on use. People tend to temper their use based on the rates.
Yeah.
But I dare say that the rates, even after the raise, the adjustments, would probably be in the middle of the road statewide still.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Okay, good.
Okay, good. Good direction. Very good. We shouldn't need Abrams for that meeting, we should,
Yeah, unless you start hearing there's a lot of, feedback or questioning, the basis of this. They obviously know the information and the data points that are in here, and
math
the
is
basis
good.
for all the work, and the assumptions that are in here.
Numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
the
they've-
numbers are the
they've-
numbers.
they've got
are the
it.
So we have come in, this is what we have to pay for.
Right.
This is how long it's gonna have to take.
And
it's not, we could do
And it
this
could be,
ourselves.
the annual expenditures on the infrastructure could be trimmed, but honestly, it doesn't make sense to have the investment in the plant, physical plant itself, the treatment plant, and the staff that has to be allocated to that, and not have a proper distribution
Right.
system to get it to the user.
And there's a lot of work that needs to get done. Definitely.
So,
Exactly.
this is where we've brought our department to, and this is where we're looking going forward.
Yeah, you're on the
And
cusp of doing a lot of
And
good
this is
things.
standard in most communities anyways. When you put a plan online, you still have to do the infrastructure work regardless.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's got
Right.
old mains, everyone's
Right.
got them,
So, couple other things, just some basic updates. Frank talked about Home Street, the bidding, and the master plan. We still need to tweak it based on basically comparing the rates as well as the master plan recommendations, kind of meld those two together. Wells 5 and 6, our hydrogeologist has mapped out location for wells, given the fact we've got very limited sites. And I know Jen is gonna be involved with, Ben dropped by there today, but Tara has been out on injured reserve. And when she gets back to work, she's gonna be meeting with Jen to talk about locations of the wells and the test wells that need to be drilled. So as soon as we get Concom approval, driller gets hired, we're out there
Excellent.
working.
Good.
The Water Management Act, Frank talked about that, and it's gonna happen, and we're probably looking to meet with DEP in September, when Jim gets back. Pine Street Water Mains, that design is proceeding. It's a little bit different from Home Street in that we've got some culvert crossings involved. So once again, dealing with Jen, and some of the habitat issues, track to still bid it in September, October.
no easements.
We don't have any easements. No, we don't have easements. We're in the road. Yeah, that's a good point, because sometimes
free, aren't they?
sometimes that could be an issue.
Usually $1.
And that's pretty much it on the drinking water side. On the wastewater side, shortly after your last meeting, you got the first check from the Housing Authority for
Excellent.
West Main Street of $235,800, which was encouraging that it came that quickly. We expected it to be longer than that, so the pipeline of money flowing in is already coming from the Housing Authority, and hopefully when those construction monies are being paid, it comes in the same way. And obviously, they must have an account that they're drawing from, so if that's the case, things should go really, really well with them. On the other side of the coin, we had expected by now that loan agreements would be signed with the SRF program and with the Clean Water Trust. In talking to Catherine Van Dyne, last week sometime, she sent her questionnaire back, so shortly you should see that paperwork. So the loans will be in place, so you can actually, the monies can start flowing for the SRF program. And I guess also along those lines, they had their first project meeting last Thursday, and Rockio actually, and not that long, had done a fair amount of pipe work on Wheaton once all those utilities got
They
located.
did find them all?
Yeah, well, they found what they could find.
Yeah.
And they have to go a little slowly because of the the maze of utilities.
Yeah.
And they did get the okay from Mass DOT to get out there during the day on Route 123 to basically saw cut the road and do some test pits as well during the day. But at some point, once they get out there, it's all night work. So people, the flashboard's gonna be used to let people know when the work is actually gonna be going. So far, I don't wanna jinx it, it's actually going pretty well. And people are being informed of what's going on. And we'll just keep our fingers crossed that, let's face it, night work can be a little even more dangerous. It's utility construction. It can be dangerous if people speeding and the lights are gonna be there, and the work has to be done at night based on the permit from Mass DOT. So hopefully people can be careful in driving on Route 123 around the construction sites.
How many weeks do you think till that network's gonna start? Based on current estimates?
The work on 123 should start about, what do we figure, mid-month, during the week of August 12th?
Next week?
Yeah, it's not that far away.
No.
No, yeah, so next week, out there out on 123,
Okay.
at night. And I believe that's all I have.
Good.
Yeah, I just want to make sure if there's anything else, you really, as a commission, you think about that October 21st town meeting. If there's anything else that's coming up you might need to do or want to do.
2-month deadline.
You
right
don't
now,
have a lot of
so-
time to
get
play
it in
here.
there. It's 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, I can't, off the cuff, I can't think of anything that you need to do. And I'm not sure with DEP if there's anything else you need to do, Frank.
I don't believe so.
I think your appropriations are already in place. I think you're in good shape. And, yeah, I think it's good. I think we're good.
Beautiful.
I think we'll just focus on the water rates and the treatment plant, and we've got plenty going on.
We do.
Hopefully we can make it a few weeks without something else breaking. It's been a bad month.
Why do you even talk about it?
Never say that.
I'm just thinking out loud, sorry.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah,
never spitball
I'm
out loud.
thinking, you have his contact information, right? And he responds, so at 2 o'clock in the morning, you go by his house, you drag him right out of bed, get him in his jammies and
I'll be
take
right
him.
next to the Home Street jobs.
Take him,
There you
that's
go.
it, all
Everything
right.
over there.
You'll get it firsthand. It's good experience. Bring some boots.
Yeah. I remember the days. Being on sewer jobs and water jobs.
Yes,
Yeah. I was the white hat though. Just trying not to get in the dirt.
You're hiring.
that's all right.
I think we're good.
I think we've done our action items. We've got some serious things in front of us. We have some bills to sign, but I think we can do that in afterwards if you want to do a meeting. Your favorite motion?
You know, next meeting,
I think we went-
do that
21st, right?
That Wednesday,
Just for kicks.
Up and out.
Yeah, just for kicks. We'll go. We already had it on for. We had the 20th, maybe.
Yeah, we were
So
scheduled
we
for
were
the
gonna
20th
go to the
originally.
21st,
Let's
we'll
go.
get that 14 day.
Right.
Let's go 21.
Gives us enough time, right, to get the notification in.
And if for some reason you don't get him, either zap me or ask Rose to kick it to something else. I don't know what we'll do, but if Mike knows what the urgency is and the reason, he's pretty good about getting back to you and making a decision. Other than that, is there any motions you'd like to make?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all.